Hi there, this is Neil Bolger at A2 Efficiency, and this quick video we're going to go over the basics of just how to run Energy Plus, how to run a file in Energy Plus, and then how to look at the result files that come out of the software. So this is really meant for anyone who's just trying to get into Energy Plus or run a quick model and doesn't really know where to start and maybe has installed the software. So I'm going to try to make this brief. But what we're going to cover is what Energy Plus files you get when you install the software, how to find the version of a file. If you have an Energy Plus file, you want to know what version it is so you can download the right software. How do you do that? And then just how do you hit run? How do you hit simulate? And then how do you see the output files? Where do they go? What do they look like? So we're going to jump over in a second to Energy Plus. Um, but just to give you a preview of what we're going to do, right? So this is basically a model. We're trying to figure out how do we get here? How do we hit this button? How does it run? And then how do we see the files that come out? I'm actually going to close it. It's going to give me some warnings, but before we do all that, so as a real quick overview, right? Most people still may not look at the start bar for what actually is installed with their apps these days. But with Energy Plus, it is a useful hint to go look at the folder that gets installed in Windows just to see all the myriad of things that are here. So in here, there's a lot of different tools to editing your model. The main one we're going to use today is EP Launch, Energy Plus Launch. From here, you will run the software. You can also then open your file up in a text editor, or you can open it up in the IDF editor. But there's other useful tools that are in here. These links to example files that are installed are very useful. This weather and statistics conversion tool is here. You can upgrade a file here as well, which is often needed. But basically, this is a great place to start if you're trying to understand where to go. But EP launch is essentially the main thing. So I'm going to actually jump over to a folder, and I'm going to delete that temporary thing I made. So, all right, what we're looking at is I have an Energy Plus file and I have a weather file. And those two things are the main pieces you need to run a model. So just to start off with, I know that my right version is actually 25.1, and I have a screenshot here of 25.2. But if you don't know and you have a file that you want to run, you can always open this up in a text editor. And somewhere in mine, it's at the top. It says the version 25.1. But this object could be anywhere. So you could always just search version with a comma, and that'll tell you what version you're under. If you were under a version that you don't have, you could then use the upgrader tool to upgrade to the version you do have, or you could go install the one that you need. So I installed it. I'll actually walk us all the way through. So I'm going to go ahead and go find Energy Plus and open EP Launch. And mine's already pointed in the right spots, but I'll just do it again for example. So you basically need to browse to where your model file is, your Energy Plus file. And then from here, the weather file, you can now pick the weather file you want to run. So in my same directory, I have a EPW formatted weather file. And you could actually pick any weather file, and the file will actually move your building to the proper location. There are some other issues that might come up if you do that, and we'll talk about that in another video, but technically you could just change the weather location right now. And then you hit simulate, and that should then bring up a little window that will process it, and you can read as fast as your computer will process what it's doing. So it's running the design days, and then it's going to generate some results. You can see here it's starting the yearly simulation. So while that's running, we're going to look at the folder it's creating. So it's making this temporary directory. And what it's going to do is it's actually solving the model as it goes step by step, each timestamp. And it's updating some of these files. And you can kind of watch it if you really wanted to. Right, so it's updating these output files and some input files, temporary input files. But this whole directory is going to get deleted. If I'm in it, it won't get deleted. But when the model is done running, it's going to drop all the results in this directory here, directly where the IDF file sits. And let's see, I'm going to do a little bit of magic and jump back when this stops. All right, so my model finished and it came back. This model has a few errors and warnings. It has some surfaces that aren't perfect, but it still works even with these little errors in here. So it'll tell you how long it took to run, and then you can hit OK. And then, like I said, here's that directory. Temporary folder is gone, and it generated all these files. So these are all my results that I asked for. A number of them you can in the model you can actually enable more or less outputs. But most models will generate this HTML file, which I have it enabled to be in IP units. But this is the summary. This is the highest level summary, how long it ran, where it ran for, the energy use, a whole bunch of generic tables on end uses. It's a good search. Other output variables to know about that are really useful is the error file, which will show me my 6 errors and all my warnings. So you can open that and read those. Other ones that we'll go into in other videos, there's output meter data here, which is I've asked for meter data on certain meters, fans, heating, gas, electricity. So it's giving me that every hour. Oh, it's also giving me the design day there. So there's some output files. This is output variables, output meters, but all these get generated. So good to know about. All right, so that's the main thing I wanted to go over is how to find the outputs. But yeah, if you're ever looking to run Energy Plus, that is it in a nutshell. We'll do more simple videos like this to get people comfortable with how to look at output files, how to change the design day and location the right way. And then we'll even go a little bit into how to add variables and how to add those meters if you want to look at different parts of your model in depth. All right, cheers.